Their heart.
Partially true, yes. Their hemodynamics, their fluid, their blood dynamics, how it's moving through the body, that's not working. How do we measure that, right? So let's first look at the So what is the most basic way to measure hemodynamics? Blood pressure. Non-invasive, pretty easy. You do it every so often to monitor patient's condition. Now, one of the key things to note here for hemodynamics is it's only monitored. There's different ways to monitor, right? We just said blood pressure cuff. Another way you guys are going to learn today about is CVP line, central venous pressure line. Right? So, while there may be contraindications or relative contraindications for which type of monitoring you're going to do, whether it be no blood pressure on the right arm because of complications with it, maybe you don't want to cut off blood flow because there's already not enough, or perhaps they're not able to do this mild procedure with the CVP, which you have to insert through the neck. There are no contraindications for hemodynamic monitoring as a whole, which is very important to note because it will be where? On your exams. Good.
So there's no contraindications
For monitoring.
for monitoring.
But there may be relative contraindications for the specific kinds of monitoring, right? But overall, are you filming me?
Yes.
Okay. Overall, we actually do this for people who we would consider other things contraindicated for. This is how we know we're unstable, right? So you're going to do this for a number of patients. Who could we think? Who do you guys want to monitor hemodynamics on? Trauma patients. Why?
It has blood loss.
Louis can't spell English. Good. Trauma patients.
Moments received. CVP cup.
The quick answer for this is who do you want to measure hemodynamics for? Really everybody. But there are some that you really want to monitor. Trauma patients is good, yes. Who else?
Continuous.
CVA. Well, that's a trauma, right? I mean, wait, sorry. I thought you said MVA. CVA. Good. You want to tell everybody what a CVA is, or does everyone know?
Cerebrovascular accident.
A
Good.
stroke.
Good. Stroke, yes. A stroke. Who else? Pregnant. MI. Good. Both good.
Pregnant? Oh yeah, that's right.
Think about other disease processes we've covered. Neuromuscular, perhaps. Right. CHF, good. What about anything else? There's a big one here. ARDS.
Oh yeah.
ARDS patients. Big one. Oh, sepsis. Looks like the biggest one. That note on the board over there, everyone is aware? Clear out your stuff, okay? All right, thank you. The fridges in the student lounge will be purged today, so please take out all your stuff if you care about it. That includes like lunch boxes and stuff. Trust me, it's not great when you're like, where's my water bottle that I left in here? That was $50.
We learned that first.
It's with Vosper, huh?
One day,
Yeah, he did it every day.
He really did, didn't he? Also shock patients.
Did they
If
pass
you
it?
listen closely, the British are coming. I don't know what the hell's happening. All right, so I'm gonna use my stage voice today. Hazards and complications, right? So as I was saying beforehand, there's no absolute contraindications, but these are something that we have to consider, especially when we do which kind of monitoring, invasive or non-invasive?
Invasive.
Invasive. So when you're doing anything invasive, what automatically is a risk?
Infection.
Infection. Very good. Do I even need to teach today?
Yes.
we took the test on them.
Oh, so you're experts now?
He's up there.
I know.
So when we are doing internal or invasive hemodynamic monitoring, we're also going to be leaving in a catheter or some kind of line to measure the pressures. When you have anything that's in the vessels, right, what are you increasing the risk for?
Nerve damage.
Blood clots. Who said it? Blood clots. Good. Why are you increasing incidences of blood clots? Yeah.
Blood clots.
Wow. Blood clots. Maybe I'm having a stroke. Who knows?
Don't joke about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one.
Be on the back of the t-shirt?
Hey, at least I'd be the only one that's like not left by choice, right? Also, your arteries and your other vessels, they're lined with smooth muscle, correct? Irritants to smooth muscle can cause constriction. So we call those spasms. Is the green pen okay? Do you need a darker pen to see better?
That's good.
Red.
You got it. So, let's go over some terminology here. I like to underline things. Can you tell? Cardiac output. Who can hazard a guess what cardiac output is?
Your circulation in a minute.
Yeah, it's how much blood your heart pumps over the course of a minute. So there is an equation for cardiac output. How would you think that this is abbreviated?
CO.
Incorrect.
OC.
What abbreviation has CO that we already know of? Carbon monoxide.
Anytime you see CO, they think carbon monoxide. So they have this as QT. Yes. Now you see, like when you see it on the monitor, it says QT. There's that waveform. You're like, oh, it's cardiac output. So it's how much blood is being pumped per minute. Typically, your range should be in liters, 4 to 8 liters per minute, on average. Now that'll depend on how large the person is, etc. Right? Obviously, a little tyke who's got a cardiac output of 8 liters per minute, that might be a little bit abnormal. Likewise, someone who is 6'5", who has a cardiac output of 4, also a little bit abnormal. So you want to kind of, if they're on the larger end, they're on the larger end of the scale. So we right now have an equation. Yes, math, everybody's favorite, right? We have an equation how to delineate cardiac output. So if you know that cardiac output is how much blood is pumped per minute, what do you think the parts of the equation are? I'll give you a hint.
Something minute.
Something minute. It's two different numbers and they're multiplied together.
Heart rate times 60.
Well, you got one right.
That kind of is your heart rate.
Okay.
So it's
Think.
think
Blood, but there's a special name
Oh,
for it.
kilogram.
stroke volume. Who said it? Nice. Yeah, let me rewrite this so it's legible. It's heart rate times stroke volume. Think about this like minute ventilation, right? Respiratory rate, tidal volume. Cardiac output, heart rate, stroke volume. So without telling you what stroke volume is, what is it?
The amount of volume.
The amount of blood pumped in one heartbeat, correct? Yeah, that makes sense, right? So, let's see what else we have here. We also have cardiac index, which, akin to cardiac output, it's supposed to measure like total hemodynamic function. But the reason why people tend to use cardiac index a little bit more than cardiac output is because it's more accurate, it's more relevant per patient. Cardiac output, this is the range. Boom. There's no, if you're this height and this age, it should be this range. This is the range. For cardiac index, maybe I should finish writing before I start talking. Cardiac index, which is abbreviated as CI, tricked you. It's not QI, it is CI. It measures blood flow per minute, but it also takes into account the body surface area. So remember what I was saying, people who are larger, they have more blood to deliver. So cardiac index takes that into account. Let me double check. Blood flow per minute, but uses body surface area to suggest.
Which takes account into patient size. So instead of just saying the cardiac output is 4 to 8, when you take the cardiac index, it's technically taking the cardiac output and dividing it by like your body surface area. So it's a more accurate reflection for the same reason where we said a 6'2" person isn't going to have the same cardiac output requirements as a 5' person because they're much taller. So cardiac index gives you a little better idea, and it's 2.5 to 4 is that normal.
Oh, sorry. It is an index, not measured in liters per minute. Okay. So, in addition to these, we also have preload under terminology. So, preload, anyone want to guess what that is? It's the blood that waits in the heart before it's about to be pumped. So that's all the blood that's sitting in the heart. Mhm.
Louis,
Yes.
can you write it a little bigger? I cannot
Yes.
see that. Thank you.
And just like preload, we have afterload. Okay? Who wants to guess what afterload is?
I would just say preload is basically how much is sitting there in the ventricles and the air waiting to go out to where it needs to go. So my common reference, whether you like it or not, is the water that's sitting in the toilet bowl tank. That's the preload, waiting to be flushed to the pipes or waiting to be distributed to the body. So that's how you should think of preload, is how much is there waiting to go to the areas it needs to go to.
It's your reservoir system, just like an NRB, right? That O2 bag, that's that preload before the breath goes in. So, unlike preload, afterload isn't an amount of blood. It's actually an amount of resistance. So, it's the resistance. Is this big enough?
A little bit bigger.
You got it. It's the resistance the heart needs to overcome. In order to pump. So there are two parts to afterload. It's PVR and SVR. So PVR, I will give you a hint. That's how much resistance that the right ventricle needs to overcome. So PVR, right? What do you think it stands for if I tell you that it involves the right ventricle? Pulmonary vascular resistance. And now we have SVR, which is how much the left ventricle must overcome. What does SVR stand for?
Systemic.
Systemic vascular resistance. Did you guys learn this already?
Yes.
No. Okay. I'm going to switch over to here. Yes. So now let's get more into those types of monitoring, right?